Like, comment, share, and subscribe. Hit that notification bell in the upper right-hand corner. Follow me on all forms of social media. Check me out at thatdrummerguy.com and enjoy the following presentation.
Hello.
Hi, how's it going?
Fine, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you very much for taking the time to do this interview.
Yeah, good to talk to you again.
Oh yeah, it's great to be able to catch up, being able to talk before on the MaYaN album, and being able to see that you guys were actually able to come over here to the States for Prog Power this year was fantastic, and now being able to talk about some work with Epica.
Yeah, so we came with MaYaN to Prog Power. That was an absolutely amazing experience. So really happy that everything went well, and now it's time for Epica to come over again. Yeah.
So cool. I mean, between the last MaYaN album and now being able to celebrate 10 years of Design Your Universe, I mean, this is a pretty exciting time to be in your position right now.
Yes, there's a lot of things going on indeed. So you can say that I'm not a guy that's bored. Yeah, there's a lot of things going on and a lot of exciting things, and we had some time off with Epica. The last year we used to reload our batteries, and now we are back on track again, and also writing a new album. So there's a lot of things happening at the same time, but we're fully recharged again.
Oh, and that's fantastic to hear that too. And a great way to be able to get back fully in charge with Epica, I mean, is celebrating easily one of my favorite Epica albums, and the album that got me into the band with Design Your Universe, with the album coming out back on Friday. I mean, how does it feel to be able to celebrate 10 years of this album?
Yeah, it was first of all a lot of fun to practice these old songs again. It was some of these songs we played like 10 years ago and then never again. And now we do this tour to celebrate the Design Universe album. So we started practicing these songs again, and we did already the first 3 shows now. And it was a lot of fun, and these songs work well still after 10 years, very well. And especially for me, the songs that are most fun to play are like Resigned to Surrender, Kingdom of Heaven, Tides of Time. These are, I think, my favorites, but also Unleashed is also a nice track to play. So it's really fun, and it's also nice to have some totally different set list than what we are usually play.
Oh, I can imagine. I mean, obviously with a song like Martyr of the Free World, getting so much play on the stage, I mean, I imagine it's got to be really refreshing when you are able to go back and play those songs that you haven't played since the album was recorded.
Yeah, and Martyr is one of these songs that we sometimes add to the set still during these 10 years, but some other songs that we never played at all anymore, that's like Our Destiny, Burn to Cinder we hardly ever play, Deconstruct, Semblance of Liberty, these kind of tracks we simply never played anymore. And so it's fun to pick them up again and do something with it.
Oh, absolutely. And, with the gold edition of this album, I mean, it's great to see acoustic versions of these songs that, some people might not have ever imagined like a full-blown acoustic versions of it, but it's great to see that on this release.
Yeah, and then that also we did put a lot of effort in these tracks because we didn't want just to do some acoustic versions that are literal translations of the album versions. So we really wanted to do something special with them. So we really took these songs and started jamming around with them, trying different angles and different experiments until we found a format that really worked. And with some songs, we even wrote completely new parts in these songs to make it work even better. So it was really exciting, and we wanted to do something really special with it. And now that the fans who have heard it already start telling that they're really happy about it, and I'm happy that we did put so much effort in it, because that was all about.
Oh, very much so. And just from the fan perspective, being able to hear something like the title track or Unleashed done in an acoustic version, it's something that I never would have imagined. But I'm so happy hearing the results of all the tracks that were done done that way, but it's so great to hear the songs that you may not imagine that way working out so well.
Yeah, exactly, and that was also the goal, to surprise with these tracks, and also to build up slowly the intensity a bit. So in the end, that you get to hear some full grunts on acoustic tracks. That was also kind of a surprise, and so it's it worked really well, and it was also fun to see that even grunts work in acoustic tracks, because I think that's something that hasn't been done at least that often.
Oh, very much so. And yeah, again, just like seeing the results, I mean, like people online, especially loving like Martyr of the Free World and the acoustic version. I mean, it was great to see that got released as a full video. I mean, that's so cool to see that.
Yeah, we were discussing which track shall we take, and we soon agreed that it should be Martyr, because that one really is the biggest difference compared to the album version. And the album version is very heavy, very intense, and then we changed it into a very breakable ballad kind of track with a completely different atmosphere, and it worked really well. Yeah, and the funny thing is to mention about that track is I was working for another project, United Metal Minds, and I was working with a guy from France. His name is Jerome, and I was discussing that we were working with Epica on acoustic versions of tracks, and we were still one track we didn't decide about yet, and I started talking with him about Martyr, and he said, yeah, let me try a bit, maybe in a kind of direction that you would like to go, because I have something really crazy in mind. And he gave me a first kind of setup for this song, and I really liked that atmosphere. So I started working on it, and I presented it to the band, and they also loved it, and we started working on the idea, and that became Martyr of the Free World. So it was really, really funny that how something like that started with a guy in France, and then turned out to be like this, and becoming one of the tracks, of the acoustic tracks on the album.
Yeah, that is so cool, and like you said, it is such a big departure from the original version of it. I mean, being able to turn a song like that is so heavy and so symphonic, and just turn it into this great acoustic-based ballad. I mean, it's mind-blowing to see what you guys are capable of.
Thank you very much. I'm happy to hear that.
Oh, absolutely. So, with that in mind, I mean, obviously being able to do some shows to celebrate this, and then being able to work on some new material with Epica, and, upcoming shows that are still to continue on with that. I mean, how does it feel to be back on the road with Epica?
It feels really good, because first of all, we didn't take the break for nothing. It was, we were like 17 years already together, constantly touring, and we thought, let's have some distance from each other. That's also sometimes good, especially after such a long time. And then now we came back together, and it felt like refreshing, very refreshing, like being reborn, and really happy to see each other again. And that was the good thing about it, because when you keep on going and you would keep on going for too long, it can happen that at a certain point you start getting some tension or frustration. We didn't want to let that to happen. And like this, I think we did the right thing. And now that we are back together again, there's a great vibe. And so I'm really happy that we made the right decision. And because we want to have this band for another 20 years. And so then you have to do wise things sometimes.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, when you can go from making a very left of center style EP to doing a re-release of Design Your Universe, and now working on new material again. I mean, I'm glad to see, with all the different things that are going on with Epica, that you do have that love and appreciation of getting back together, wanting to write material again, wanting to play shows again, because you never want that burnout. You never want that tension to be able to boil over. So when you have that right combination of people and you're able to spend that time together and apart, it's such a good thing.
Yeah, and I think it's the strength of Epica that we have like 6 very different people in the band, six different individuals who bring all their specific talents to the table. And so the good thing is that you can do a lot of things that, because everybody has such specific talents, you can do many things with Epica. But when you have 6 different people, you also have to be very mindful about how to make that to keep everybody happy, and I think we found the right balance with that.
Oh, very much so. And again, seeing these specialty shows that you guys are doing, including a couple stops here back in America again. I mean, it's that's going to be a cool feeling. Like within a year's time, where you're able to go from doing this amazing set with MaYaN at Prog Power to being able to do these specialty shows with Epica.
Yeah. But when we were discussing where do we want to play, first we started off with just a very small tour in Europe. But then there was a lot of fans started messaging us like, we want also such a show back here, and also a lot of American fans started messaging us like, we want such a show too here in America. So, and then to make that happen, we started thinking what would be the right time, and then we found this opportunity in January. So we went for it, and I'm really happy that now we have this kind of bigger tour for Design Universe, because it's a very important album for many fans, and not everybody can fly over to Europe to see such a show. So like this, I think everybody who loves the album has here or there the opportunity to come and see the show.
And with that in mind, I mean, obviously, like you said, not everybody being able to fly over to Europe to see these shows, and then doing some shows over here. With where the band was 10 years ago to where they are, to where you are now, I mean, how do you feel about the evolution of the band?
10 years ago, it was when Isaac just joined us, and so together with him, we developed into a direction where we could do some more technical stuff here and there, and so we really experimented a lot with him, what he brought to the table and what he could add to Epica. And I think we really found a really nice balance between his ability of songwriting and ours, what we had already developed over the years. And it's very good sometimes to have a new guy coming in who throws the pillow in the air and you try some new stuff. And that's what happened with Isaac, and then later also Rob joined us when he replaced Eve Hutz. And with Rob the same, he also brought some different elements to the table, and he also appeared to be a very good songwriter. So now we are in a luxurious position that for every album that we write, we have way too many songs. So we can, and the good thing about that is that we can pick the real strongest songs for the album. And sometimes it's difficult to drop some really good stuff, but that's a luxurious problem.
Yeah, and I imagine that's where you are right now in that writing mode, and I imagine that that inspiration is there right now. And when it comes time to be able to pick out the right songs for the album, it's going to be hard to decide which ones are which. Yeah,
that's definitely going to be hard again. But now at this point, we're still writing and collecting, and the decision moment comes somewhere in November, December, somewhere. So we still have some time to think about it.
Oh, absolutely. And with that in mind, I mean, how does that feel now to be fully on board with writing a new Epica album?
What was the first part of your question?
Oh, I mean, how does it feel to be a writing for the next Epica album? I mean, considering last album will be, I'm assuming about 4 years since the last release, when this next coming album comes out.
Yeah, that will be about 4 years, indeed. Now, this week, it's like 3 years ago that the Holographic Principle got released. So by the time the new album gets released, that must be about 4 years. It's longer than usual, but in the meantime, we also released an EP and a second EP, and also this re-release, and also a book. We worked on a book that's going to be released the end of this year. So there's a lot of stuff still that happened in the meantime. But if you just take a look at the albums, then it's longer than it usually has been. So I think the fans are really eager to hear new material. And as eager are we about writing the stuff. When I started writing myself, I felt really a big motivation again to write a new album. And that's exactly what we needed. We didn't want to start writing an album at a point that we felt like we just had to write an album. writing. We only want to write an album when we really feel hungry to write an album, and that's the case now.
Oh yeah, and that's the way to do that as well. I mean, you never want to have to force an album and, only have like half of your heart into the album. I mean, you want to be 100% behind it and make the music that you want to make.
Exactly. It has to be 100% or nothing. There's nothing in between. I wouldn't be happy with an album that has just a few good songs and the rest fillers. I would feel ashamed about it, and there's no one going to be happy about such an album. It has to be as good as we can get it.
Oh, definitely. And you hinted at it just a moment ago about the book that's coming out at the end of the year. What can you tell people about that who are not familiar with that yet?
Yeah, because we got approached if we wanted to make a book, and they gave us an example of the Opeth book and the Lacuna Coil one they had done before. And we thought it looked really good, and we started doing some interview sessions with a guy who's also called Mark, and he was really funny and really got some nice anecdotes out of us. And then we did some extra sessions with the whole band to get some more old stories on the table. And especially when we were doing the sessions with the whole band, we got some really funny stories coming up. So that's some stories that we have never told before. Some stories that we're even a bit ashamed of. But yeah, a book has to have some reveal some secrets as well. So otherwise it wouldn't make sense to release a book. And I think like this also it goes from really our childhood to where we are now. So it gives a really nice insight in how we came to the point where we are now from our youth on. So I think it becomes really interesting with some unique pictures as well, because we had to look also in our archives to find some really nice old pictures. I think all together, it was a lot of work, I must say. Much more work than I expected. But as long as the result is great, then it's worth all the efforts.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. I mean, especially for the diehard Epica fans. I mean, that right there, I mean, it just sounds like there's so much to look forward to. I mean, like unreleased photos, stories both good and bad, seeing these secrets and untold stories. I mean, it just seems like there's so much reason to go through that entire book and just really dissect everything that's going on. Yeah,
exactly. And then that's also what you already mentioned. There's some good stories and also some bad ones. We wanted to give a realistic view in how it is to be in a band, and not just telling the bright side of the life, but also telling sometimes there can be some frustrations, sometimes there can be some difficulties that you have to overcome, and that's just the way it is. And I think that's much more interesting to read than when you just go from one highlight to the other.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. I mean, unless you've been in a band, and especially once you start to build up the momentum of being a musician and being in bands, there's so many trials and tribulations that can really go into the band. I mean, band turmoil, outside influences, label problems, tour problems. I mean, there's so much that goes into it that can really break a band, but that's all the more reason why I'm so happy that you guys have been able to come back together and start working on new albums, start working on the touring again, because after as long as Epica has been a band, a lot of bands don't even want to touch that material again, and it's great to see that you guys still have that momentum going.
Yeah, exactly, and we've been going through also all that kind of stuff. We had a record company getting bankrupt after 2 albums, and we were already working on a new album while we had no record company, and there was nobody to finance that album. So we went through some hard times as well during our career. But like you say, you overcome them, and it makes you stronger. And you see also sometimes that these things make other bands split up, and it's really unfortunate to see that some really talented bands that had to split up during some very difficult times. But we always thought, let's stay together, and we will overcome whatever comes across our paths. And I'm really happy that we had this attitude towards problems, because that's why we are still here, and that's why we're still around. And also whenever there comes a problem, and we always in the band talking about it. There are some bands around I hear that where the members not talking to each other anymore. But talking is the most important thing that you have to do. Also, sometimes you hear some bands that they travel in different tour buses because they cannot stand each other anymore, and that's really sad to hear. We always travel together. If the point comes that we would not be able to stand each other anymore and not willing to travel in the same tour bus, I wouldn't like to be in the band in the first place. So there has to be a good atmosphere, very sensitive for good atmosphere. And for me, that's extremely important. And that's also why I'm so happy now that the atmosphere is amazing and we're having so much fun on stage again. That's the way it has to be.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And, I'm so glad that you did mention that about, having the conversations, trying to talk out the problems, try to find those solutions, because it does feel like a lot of bands never try to think about that. They just want to always think about, the future rather than, any current problems. And then when the future comes, that the problems are even bigger. So I'm glad when there are those problems that you are able to catch them as soon as someone realizes that it becomes a problem and trying to solve it, because that's so important.
Yeah, it's extremely important. And sooner or later, every band runs into these problems, because I've been touring with so many bands, and in every band it's the same story. You have some ups and you have some downs. And the only way to get out of the downs is to talk and support each other and understand each other. It's also very important, because everybody is different and nobody will ever be like you. You have to put yourself in the position of the other and really try to understand each other. Why do you feel like this, and why you want to make this decision? And then when you truly understand each other, you solve everything.
Yeah, it's so true. And even when it gets to the point where the whole band realizes that they need to take a break, be it a few months, be it a year, or whatever the case is, I'm glad to see that there are other musical endeavors going on, and something like MaYaN can be as incredible as it is when you are able to take that break from Epica.
Yes, exactly. And MaYaN also, it's for Arjen and me, it's really like the kind of band to also recharge our batteries, because if you always do the same thing with the same people, you can start repeating yourself. But if you sometimes work with completely different people in a different environment, you work even in a different way, that keeps you fresh. And so for me personally, it's very important to sometimes do something completely different, because I wouldn't like to go from Epica album to Epica album. That would not feel good to me. And it would not result in the best possible quality, I think. And like this, to sometimes work with different people, really, for me, works the best way.
Yeah, and, that got me excited as a fan as well, working so hard on the next Epica album, and, of course, being able to tour and promote behind that. But, the idea that there would be a fourth MaYaN album to come after the touring cycle for the next Epica album, I mean, that's a great mindset to have, is to not just put all of your eggs in one basket and, just focus on one project and burning yourself out on it, but rather being able to use your musical creative freedom to be able to make the music you want to make.
Exactly, yeah. And with MaYaN, we can, of course, also go a bit more extreme, because there's some more room for the really heavy stuff, and that's also something that's really fun to do. And also in MaYaN, I don't play guitar, so I just focus on the vocals live. Yeah, for the writing process, I also play guitar, but for live, I'm just the singer, so not having to think about the guitar parts. So that's really what makes it so interesting. So to have a lot of variation. Then when I'm on tour with Epica, it feels completely different than when I'm on tour with MaYaN. And that's something, I would never like to give up, because both are important to me. And of course, Epica is like the main job, because that is what makes it possible for me to make a living. But I love both of the bands the same way.
Yeah, and again, the fact that you are able to make the time for both of them, rather than feeling like one can only happen, when the time is right for everybody else. But the fact that you want to make the time to make MaYaN happen, and then make the time to make sure that Epica does happen for that reason. I mean, especially, financially, and being able to show off that creative freedom in Epica as well. I mean, some people are only able to do like a one-off album to be able to show off their different creative sides in one band, but the fact that you're making MaYaN a priority is so important.
Yeah, and we have already released indeed 3 albums, and there will be a 4th one as well in the future. So then you can already speak about established band indeed. And also next year we exist 10 years with MaYaN, so we're gonna try to make also a very big special show for that occasion. So not all bands can say that they exist 10 years, and that I have reached that point with Epica now as well with MaYaN. That's of course a feel very proud of it.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that both bands have lasted at least a decade to this point, and, you know, like a hopefully an amazing future for both bands to come. I mean, with the next Epica album and everything that's going on with that, I'm very excited about that. And, you know, again, being able to bring MaYaN over here to the United States to be able to play for Prog Power, hopefully that can lead to more stuff in the future happening like that. I mean, like I said in the beginning, it's got to be an amazing feeling to be able to have both of these bands being able to be talked about, being able to have that live representation, being able to love both bands equally. I mean, I admire so much of what you do and everything the way that you do it, and it's great that you are able to make the time to do that. And, you know, something like this, being able to talk to me about like a little bit about mine, but of course making sure that we're talking about Epica, this amazing new re-release of Design Your Universe with some amazing acoustic tracks and everything to look forward to in the future.
Yeah, the future looks bright, and I'm very thankful to everybody who made this possible, and that's everybody who supported us, and also all the fans. Because you can do your best, but if nobody likes it, then you have to do a normal job. So I'm really thankful that after all these years, I can still do this, and where my heart belongs is in music. So hopefully I can do this for another 10, 20 years. Would be great.
Oh, absolutely. And I think with that, I think that's an amazing note to end on. Thank you so very much once again for taking this time to be able to talk to me about everything going on in your world right now. And of course, the brand new gold edition of Design Your Universe, which is available now through Nuclear Blast. I love what happened with this release, being able to hear these acoustic tracks, and of course, being able to revisit this landmark album, and the fact that you guys are touring in support of that. Everything to look forward to in the future with the next Epica album. I'm assuming a 2020 release with that, and then everything that'll happen with MaYaN in the future after the touring cycle for Epica.
After we did do some intensive touring with Epica, there will be definitely the new MaYaN album coming up, and some MaYaN touring. We did quite some shows on this Jana album for MaYaN, and so I'm really happy how things turned out, because obviously MaYaN is a smaller band than Epica, so things are way harder to get the band on the road. But all the shows that we could do makes me very happy, and so hopefully we can do some more tours in the future, but I'm pretty positive about that.